We've all left work late at some point, so late that not even one truck goes by anymore. But not all of us have had to walk home along an almost empty highway in the middle of the night, with the feeling that someone else is stepping on the same asphalt behind us. What I'm about to tell you happened to an ordinary man, a worker who just wanted to get home to his family, until in the middle of the highway he came face to face with the Black Charro. And since that night, nobody in his village wants to walk that stretch of road alone. My name is Roberto. For more than 15 years, I've worked at a factory on the outskirts of the city. I live in a small town a few kilometers away, the kind where you still see farmland, stray dogs, and corner stores on every block. I always get home by bus or shared van, but that day everything went wrong. A machine broke down, unexpected overtime, and by the time we finally got out, it was past 11:30 at night. My coworkers caught the last buses. I had stayed behind talking to the supervisor about getting some extra hours signed off. And by the time I walked out to the highway, nothing was passing anymore. I watched the lights of a city bus disappear in the distance. I stood at the stop for a few minutes, waiting for a miracle. The wind was cold. The road felt longer than usual. The silence of that hour made me uneasy. I took out my phone. No data. Low battery. I thought about calling a taxi, but what they were going to charge me to go all the way to my town hurt more than the exhaustion. I told myself, it's about 40 minutes walking from here. I know the route. It'll be fine. I started walking close to the edge, on the side facing traffic, the way we were taught. Every so often a truck or a car would pass, but at that hour the road was emptying out. Every time I saw headlights coming, I raised my hand slightly in case someone took pity and offered a ride. Nobody stopped. As I moved further along, the city lights fell behind me, and the darkness of the countryside grew heavier. Just a few street lights here and there, many of them off, and some old faded roadside signs. To the right, dry fields. To the left, low hills and brush. In the village, people always said strange things appeared on that highway. A woman in white. A huge dog with red eyes. Even the weeping woman near a stream further ahead. I had always laughed at those stories. That night, tired, feet hurting, they weren't so funny anymore. I had been walking maybe 20 minutes when I started hearing something strange. At first, I thought it was the echo of a distant truck, but the sound was different. Not wheels on asphalt. These were dry, rhythmic strikes, like someone walking behind me in very heavy boots. Tap, 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 tap. I stopped. The sound stopped too. I started walking again. Tap, tap, tap. I looked back. The road was empty. No cars, no people, nothing. I told myself it was my imagination. Maybe I was hearing my own footsteps bouncing off the night. I picked up my pace. The sound changed. Suddenly it no longer sounded like human footsteps. It sounded too much like hooves striking pavement. Clop, 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 clop. But there was no horse. I turned my head again. Far behind me, right where the road disappeared, I made out a dark silhouette on top of something large. With a street light behind it, the shape was clear. A man on horseback. I figured it was some rancher heading home late. That wouldn't be unusual in that area. He'll pass me, and that'll be that, I thought. I kept walking. The hoofbeats grew closer, but the silhouette seemed to move very slowly, as if it never quite caught up. Minutes passed, and the distance between us stayed the same. I was walking, he was riding, and yet he wasn't reaching me. That started to unsettle me. On a stretch where the road narrowed and there was almost no light from the poles, I suddenly felt the hoofbeats closing in, faster. The air went cold in that strange way that gets into your bones. Without realizing it, I had drifted toward the lane, away from the edge. Then I heard a deep voice, polished, with an old-fashioned accent. "Good evening. Walking at this hour, friend, not a good idea." I stopped. My skin stood on end. Right beside me, very close to the edge of the road, stood an enormous black horse, eyes glowing like dying embers. On top of it sat a man dressed as a charro, all in black. Clean suit, gleaming buttons, a wide-brimmed hat that covered half his face. I hadn't heard him approach. He was simply there. "Good evening," I managed, my voice shakier than I would have liked. The charro smiled faintly, but there was something cold in that half-smile. "Where are you headed so late, friend?" he asked in a pleasant tone. I told him the name of my village, a few kilometers ahead. He nodded slowly. "I know that direction well," he said. "Many people don't make it back when they leave the city this late." The Black Charro walked his horse at my pace, right beside me. I didn't know whether to speed up, stay still, or run. "The last bus already left," he continued. "I saw it go by a while ago, in quite a hurry." "Yeah, I missed it," I said. "Nothing I can do. I'll have to walk." He clicked his tongue as if that saddened him. "You shouldn't be out here alone," he murmured. "This road has bad things on it." "I know. People tell a lot of stories." I tried to sound casual, "but I know this road by heart." The charro let out a low laugh. "Stories aren't always stories, friend. Sometimes they're warnings." At that moment, I noticed the horse wasn't hitting the asphalt quite right. It sounded like it was striking something hollow, or like it wasn't fully touching the ground. And despite how large the animal was, I couldn't clearly make out its shadow. The charro leaned slightly toward me. "If you'd like, I can keep you company," he said. "With me, you'll get there faster." I didn't understand what he meant. He pointed ahead with his chin. "There's a shortcut," he explained. "Through the hills over there. The people in the village don't know it. Only those of us who, like me, move through the night, making deals." A chill ran through me that I couldn't hide. "No, thank you," I stammered. "I'd rather stay on the highway." The charro didn't seem offended. He just tilted his head as if he had expected that answer. "You have a wife and 2 children, don't you?" he said, looking at me without quite looking at me. The air went out of me. I hadn't said a word about my family. "The little girl is the one who's always getting sick," he continued. "Fevers, a cough, problems with her lungs. Doctors are expensive, more so when the cold comes in." I felt the blood drain from my feet. "How do you know that?" I asked. The charro lowered his voice slightly. "Let's just say I've watched a lot of things pass by on this road. A lot of men worried about their families, men willing to do anything so their loved ones never go without." His gloved hand stroked the horse's neck. "I can help you," he added. "Money that never runs out in your home. Your little girl stops getting sick. You always find a seat on the bus, even when you're late." He paused. in exchange for something very small, a favor for the Black Charro. I swallowed. What? What do you want in return? The Charro smiled, showing his teeth for the first time. They weren't normal. Too white. Too perfect. But there was something sharp in the shape of the canines. Nothing that won't happen anyway, he answered. When your time comes, when you can no longer work, when you have nothing left to give, I only ask that you come with me. That we walk together down this road, just like tonight. He adjusted his hat. Think of it as a fair deal, he added. I get you home safe and sound to your family. I lighten your load. And when your life is done, you walk with me in the night. My heart hammered. What he was offering wasn't a ride. It was a pact, a contract without paper, but just as dangerous. I remembered the stories my grandmother used to tell about the Black Charro, an emissary of the devil who deceived the living with promises of wealth or salvation in exchange for their souls. It all fit too well. The problem was, what he said about my family was true. The salary barely covered everything. We owed rent, gas, medicine. I had thought many times about doing anything to give them a better life. I looked around. The road was empty. Just him, his black horse, and me. The Charro extended his right hand toward me. You don't have to answer now, he said. Just give me your hand, and I'll walk you to your village. When we cross the stream, if you've changed your mind, I can forget this ever happened. His voice was soft, almost hypnotic. I suddenly felt very tired, like my feet no longer wanted to carry me. For a moment I imagined arriving home in minutes, hugging my children, knowing we would never go without again. I raised my hand, hesitating. Before I touched him, a loud noise erupted behind us, a long horn blast, high beams. A cargo truck approaching, faster than it should have been. I stepped aside. The Charro didn't move. The truck passed a few meters away, throwing up wind and dust. For just 1 second, the full glare of its headlights washed over the Black Charro and his horse. What I saw made me step back twice. Beneath the elegant clothing, the Charro's skin was not normal. It looked like dried ash, like something burned. Where his eyes should have been, there were 2 dark hollows with something faintly red glowing inside. The horse's legs didn't end in hooves. They ended in something like split cloven feet that barely touched the ground. When the truck's lights moved away, everything returned to half-darkness. The Charro was still holding out his hand, as if nothing had happened. Well then, he asked. I pulled my hand back. No, I said, more firmly than I felt. I'd rather arrive late, but arrive on my own. The Charro sighed, like someone used to hearing that answer. Everyone says that at first, he murmured. But sooner or later, they come back walking this road. More tired, more in debt, older, and in the end, they always accept. A strange silence fell. No crickets, no wind, nothing. Keep to the edge, close to the brush, he added. Don't drift into the lane again. Tonight I still want to see you get home to your family. When I heard that, a chill ran through me colder than all the others. I didn't know whether it was a gesture of mercy or whether he was simply saving my fate for another day. I looked down for a second. When I looked back up, the Black Charro was gone. Neither him, nor his horse, nor the echo of hoofbeats. Just the empty road and the distant sound of a dog barking in the village. I don't know how long it took me to get home. All I remember is that when I finally saw the first houses of my town, I started crying without fully understanding why. For several days I told no one, until at a gathering someone mentioned that on that highway, for years now, a charro dressed in black had been appearing to people walking alone at night, offering his help. An old man from the village said that whoever accepts his hand arrives home. But over time, their life starts pulling them back toward that road. I didn't accept his hand. But every time I run late at work and look at the clock and see the same hour as that night, a fear I can't explain comes over me. I'd rather borrow money, sleep on the factory floor, anything, rather than walk that stretch of road alone again. Because I know that if I do, in the darkness behind me, I'll hear those hoofbeats again, the horse drawn closer, and the voice of the Black Charro whispering in my ear, "Now, friend, it's time we walked home together."